Hey everyone, it's me. I'm back. Today, something that is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it's gonna sound silly, but how to be a good listener. If you're anything like me, someone that can really listen to you and hear you is so important. Like, that means so much to me when someone can just really listen and hear me. Growing up, I didn't really get a lot of that. So as an adult, I've realized that that's really something that I value because I didn't get it a lot growing up, right? So when I find people that I can really talk to, I find they usually tend to be really good listeners. So that's a reason why I feel safe enough to talk to them. So these are my 6 tips on how to be a good listener. Because boy, do we need good listeners in the world. People that can just focus on other people and really hear them for a little bit. I think that there's a lot of value in that. On both sides, really. It's good for both parties involved in the conversation. Okay. Tip 1 of how to be a good listener. You have to look at the person. It doesn't mean you have to stare at them and, you can't blink or you can't ever look away. Of course you can look away. But look at them. Be able to look at their face or either you can look in their eyes. Look in their eyes. You just don't have to, you don't have to stare at them. Obviously, you don't want to make things awkward. But there is something about looking at somebody when they're talking to you that shows that you hear them, that you're listening. It's just nice. That's tip 1. Tip 2, don't speak over them if you can help it. And I know it's really tough. I definitely do this sometimes. Everybody does. But try to make it a point to really slow down and focus on what they're saying, not on what, you're going to respond with necessarily, and trust yourself that your response will come. You don't have to focus the whole time they're talking on what you're going to say, because then you're missing what they're saying, and most people will be able to pick up on that energy that you're not fully listening. I know that I can for sure. I can pick up on that pretty quickly, and it kind of hurts my feelings. So don't speak over them if you can help it. Just practice, just practice making it a point to listen fully. And if you do talk over them, just kind of stop yourself and apologize. Oh, I didn't mean, finish what you're saying. I didn't mean to start talking. It's that simple. Usually people, will respect that, and it's totally understandable. We all do it sometimes, right? Okay. Tip 3, when you do respond with meaning. So what I mean by this is there's many different ways. Obviously, it depends on what they're talking about. And all of these tips are kind of, for me, when I'm giving these tips, are more for conversations that are probably a little bit more serious or lengthier conversations, like with a friend or a close loved one when, they really need to talk to somebody, good or bad. But respond with meaning. For example, validate what they're feeling. I see how what you're going through. I see how that could be really tough. Or I know I haven't been through that same thing, but I imagine, you're deeply sad or whatever, apply it obviously to the specific conversation. Ooh, it's storming outside. The lights are flickering. Uh-oh. Anyways, validate what they're feeling. Or if it's like a topic, maybe it's more of a positive topic, and that doesn't, you don't necessarily feel that that's like an appropriate response. Maybe they're talking about ideas they have for, a brilliant new business plan or something, like give credit, you know, oh, that's a, whatever idea it is, oh, that's awesome, you know, I think that's so cool, like, I'm proud of you for coming up with that, or however, you know, something that kind of, you can even kind of like repeat something that they say, like a fact or like a part of the conversation to show that you were really listening, and then give some kind of feedback, you know, when it's appropriate time to respond, because at some point, you know, you should respond. Or it could be encouragement, you know, give encouragement of any sort to whatever conversation is going. You can always offer up help also. That shows that you're listening, you know. Hey, when you're talking right now, it sounds like you might need help with such and such. I have time, or I have XYZ, you know, I can offer that, or something like that, you know, just to kind of show that you're hearing them, that you're listening. That goes a little bit further, I think, than just sitting there when somebody's talking and going, oh yeah, okay, you know, and then like never really like really responding. So that was 3. Oh, I also think that, and this may even sometimes, depending on the relationship or how close you guys are, it may even be appropriate sometimes, in my experience, to almost ask, like at the beginning of the conversation, hey, are you gonna want any advice from me, or do you just want me to listen? I feel like sometimes just coming outright and being like direct and asking that can sometimes really help with the conversation and with listening, because depending on what the answer is, you know, if they're just coming to you and they just want to vent, then you really just have to listen. They just really want support, and you can really focus on the validating, you know, the responding meaningfully, but you don't necessarily, you know, have to worry about giving advice, which is what a lot of people struggle with sometimes. So sometimes maybe just coming outright and asking that when someone's talking to you, I find could be helpful for both of you. Even it takes some of the pressure off too, just kind of knowing what you as the listener, what is expected of you, because sometimes people just want to talk, they don't need advice, and sometimes they do. So in my opinion, it helps to just know and just outright ask, right? Don't assume and whatever, because in my experience, I've had people get upset when, you know, I think that they're wanting advice, so my responses are typically like advice giving, or, you know, you should do this, or it's usually, it's not what they want a lot of the times, in my experience, a lot of the times. So that kind of can come across to somebody as you're not really listening. You know, if all you are trying to do is tell me what to do or give me advice, sometimes that's just not what people want. So it makes them feel not heard. Okay, so that's 4. Number 5, keep distractions to a minimal. So obviously, everybody, our phones, right? Our phones are huge distractions. But when somebody's really trying to have a conversation with you, it's really annoying if you're sitting there, yeah, you know, you're not listening. Not really. I mean, we really can't multitask. Like, you're not really listening, right? And they feel that. And me, I'm a person, if somebody is doing that, the lights are still, if somebody is doing that to me, I usually just honestly stop talking. Like, I just I just shut down. But you don't necessarily want that. You know, if you're trying to help your friend, you know, you're really trying to have a nice conversation, you don't want them to just shut down on you, right? So try your very best to keep distractions to a minimal. But if something comes up and you have to, you know, your kid falls down and cuts their knee, or whatever distraction, you know, might be something that actually has to take your immediate attention, then just say, okay, hold on, I'm really sorry, I'm listening, let me deal with this, and then you have my full attention again. You know, just show them that, just acknowledge that you know that what they're saying is important to you, but that you just have, you know, you have to do that, you know, something. most people are understanding about that, and that still shows very good listening skills, I think. I think that's very respectful and honest and goes very well in conversations. Number 6, ask for clarification. I think a lot of times people, I know in my experience, they'll not, like I might be going, I might be upset about something, I might be talking about something, and I start getting the feeling that they're not really listening. But sometimes I think it's because I realize later that it's because they didn't really understand like what I meant by something. And they just didn't really know how, like some people, sometimes it's hard for people to ask for clarification because they might not want to interrupt you, or they might be embarrassed because they don't understand what you meant by something, or whatever it is. But I know it feels good for me if I'm talking and I really want somebody to listen to me, and if they don't understand something, I want them to ask for clarification. Like when somebody does that really shows that they're interested in what you're saying and that they want to understand, right? I mean, that's typically what is displayed when somebody asks for clarification on something that you've said. So I think that one goes really far, and that's kind of a tip that I think goes unnoticed a lot of the time, but I think is very important, because the best way to, being a good listener, you really want to understand what somebody is saying, right? So that you can give a meaningful response, so you can apply back appropriately, so you can, show support and interest. Well, you kind of have to understand, if they say something that's a little bit confusing or you're just not sure, ask for clarification. Oh, what did you mean by that? I heard you say this, but I'm just not sure what that means. Or what does that mean to you? Ask like open-ended questions or something to get more clarification if needed. Those are my 6 tips. Look at the person. Try not to speak over them. If you do, apologize. Respond with meaning, more than just, okay, yeah. Validate, encourage, offer help if needed. Ask them if they need support, or if they just want a listening ear, or if they need advice, or if they just need a listening ear. Some people don't really want your advice, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Keep distractions to a minimal. Try to put your phone on silent, turn the TV off. That's a huge thing. When you're trying to talk to somebody and the TV's on and they don't turn the volume down or something, that really, really irritates me. Like, if somebody comes up to me and I have the TV on, I pause it or I mute it or whatever, because that just immediately right there, that's going to show that what they're saying to you is valuable. So that's huge. And ask for clarification. So if you don't understand something, don't be afraid to, when it's, when you get a break in the conversation or get a chance or whatever, ask for clarification. People will respect that. It will make somebody feel good to know that, you're really trying to hear them, really trying to understand how they're feeling and their needs. That goes really far with relationships. I hope this helps. My 6 tips to being a good listener. So important. We need better listeners. Everywhere we need better listeners. Okay. Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend.